We're here in Munich at our European Identity Conference 2021. So the first time back in a hybrid event on site, but also with a lot of attendees online. And I'm sitting here at day 3 together with Austin from SecurEnds. Welcome, Austin.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been a wonderful experience, and yeah, I appreciate you having us.
So, Austin, tell us a little bit about SecurEnds. What is SecurEnds doing?
Yeah, so we are essentially we started as a user access review tool. So we were wanting to automate the access certification process. Of course, we evolved into becoming a full-fledged IGA solution. So doing all of the segregation of duties, lifecycle management, access request, but we still focus heavily on access certification first and foremost. So we want to clean all of that up and then.
So it is also that you can sit on top of existing solutions, because when I look at many organizations out there, so for the ones that are not that regulated industries, I still see even very large organizations that don't have an access governance and access recertification process in place. So you could also sit on top of some of the established tools then and say, okay, we add this.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, many times organizations are looking at us because they're starting on their journey, right? But a lot of organizations will also look at us because maybe they have something in place, or maybe they have just started down the path with a traditional IGA solution. They know that it's going to be quite some time before they're actually doing certifications. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think also we have these companies which have whatever the lifecycle management provisioning in for 10, 12, 15 years. And what I always see is, from experience, it is not easy to replace such a solution. It is usually a long, cumbersome journey. And what I again and again see is the urgent problem then is not the replacement, because provisioning might work still quite well,
right?
But it's the lack of access governance. And would be your home plate then.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, if you look at a lot of the organizations we work with, maybe 1,000 to 10,000 employee companies or so, some of them aren't even ready for all of the work that goes into something for lifecycle management. They still have this key thing that they need to provide attestation that people have appropriate access. And so we can plug in there, and like you said, if I don't expect someone to rip out millions of dollars and years of investment into something, but we can fill those gaps. There's lots of ways that it can be consumed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so you deliver this for in which way? Is it more a SaaS, or is it a traditional on-prem, or is it somewhere in between?
Yeah. So it is a SaaS solution. We do have the ability under very special circumstances to deploy it. It is containerized. So, but typically we would deploy it SaaS.
So it also means that the time you need to get it up and running should be relatively short, at least from a technical perspective.
Actually, yeah, absolutely. So that's one of our biggest value propositions is the time to value, because connecting to common, we have a lot of out-of-the-box connectors, but we're never going to have an out-of-the-box connector to everything, right? And so we have what's called a flex connector, which allows the consumer to actually extract in a number of different ways depending on the application, and they can configure it themselves, like pulling from a database, dropping stuff into a portal, uploading files. So we can stand up and what would typically take months or maybe years to get to, we can do it in a few weeks.
So it would be also the situation, the auditor comes in and you have this list of findings all related to access governance.
Right.
And then management shifts into panic mode and says, hey, we need to fix it. This would be also one of the situations where you come in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the visibility is a big thing. We want to make it as human readable and easy as possible. You don't have to have someone with Java experience on your team to be able to administer it. And to your point, being able to quickly just go get something and see a mind map of all the access of a particular person or entitlement or an application, and be able to provide that to an auditor quickly.
But your other value proposition then also would be to translate it, so to speak, into human readable format. So because I think this is also one of the big gaps we frequently see. So you ask people to recertify very cryptic technical things, and then they sit there and say, I don't know what this is about, and they end up with rubber stamping.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, you and I had a conversation about this earlier where, you have people that they don't know what acronym underscore acronym means, and there's not like a meaningful description there. So maybe they're rubber stamping it, or maybe they have hundreds of entitlements. So how do we reduce the number of clicks and the amount of time it takes for the people whose job isn't doing certifications to actually be doing their job?
Yeah, you talked about this what we call the mid-market, the 1,000 to 10,000 employee organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Is this your sweet spot, or do you say this is where you find a lot, but you can do bigger or smaller? So where's your focus?
Yeah, I mean, we can do bigger and smaller. We focus there, in the market, because there is a sweet spot when it comes to the maturity and expectations and experience that people have. But we have a 300,000 employee company, and I think one of our smallest customers is about 150 employees. So it's there's opportunity everywhere, but we see there's a big piece of the market in that that middle ground enterprise space.
Yeah. And I think this is really one of the areas which is still heavily underserved when it comes to access governance, unless it's as I've said, the heavily regulated industries.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look, for instance, at Europe, healthcare,
right.
It's a definitely very underserved area.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have a lot of industries in that space, and so I think that makes sense. And we need access governance. We will not get rid of it because we will have these entitlements around.
Right.
We will need IGA, and interesting to learn about what SecurEnds delivers. So, Austin, thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
To be here in Munich.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And thank you to all of you listening into this talk. Thank you.